address and information on every single piece of paper because they're blank. Where here, the information that we have is going to automatically be populated onto that template, and so the only thing the patient has to do is truly sign it or fill out the information that's necessary for them, but not all that typical data that you already have in the system. You'll also see their past billing information and any past balances so that you're collecting money ahead of time. So if you're going to schedule a patient, you can say, you still owe us $100 from your past visit. Please plan on bringing that money with you at the time of service. And then this is a reminder here for the check-in to say, oh, that's right, Mr. Jones, you still owed us $100 from your past visit. Do you think you could pay for that today and collect that money? So it gives us the ability to launch out for authorization, eligibility, any type of templates, and then billing information as well. So I'm going to go ahead and save that and check that patient in. And so now what you'll notice is that when I right click, check-in is ghosted out and checkout is there, so the patient is in the office. If I close from here and go out to my patient status, you should start to see now that the patient status is that he's checked in, and as he checks out, he'll fall off of there. So that just kind of grows as the day goes on, comes and goes with who's actually checked into your office or not. So that's actually showing you pretty much everything about the dashboard and modifying patients and then doing appointments as well. So the next section is going to be charges. So this time, if the patient's coming in, hopefully the nurse has picked up the patient and taken him back into the room and did their vitals and their chief complaint and their histories on the patient. The physician then picks the patient up and does the physical exam on the patient and turns around and sends that data back into our charge entry window. So through EMR. So I'm going to click on the charges button for a minute, and I'm going to talk about 3 different ways to do charges. And so the first thing, it's going to take me a minute to explain to you the screen and the setup, but then I'm going to explain to you the 3 ways of doing charges. The first way is going to be what I call the long normal way, which is what most billers are used to, is the manual process. So you'll see that Robert's still up on my screen because he's still on my dashboard. On the far right hand side here we have a close date and a charge tray. So these close dates are actually driven for balancing purposes. So that's how I close out the end of my day, and then of course eventually the end of my month and the end of my year. My charge trays, I can actually build as many charge trays as I want to help me balance. So if I'm the checkout, I probably have daily charges, but if I'm a biller, I might have daily charges as well as I might have surgery charges or something else that I might be charging out. So you can build these charge trays, and they obviously connect by the user as well for balancing purposes. So it's a pretty nice option there. On the right hand side here, it automatically generates a new claim number every time that you go in to do a new charge. I have my facility, so what facility are the charges being rendered from. My billing provider, notice my billing provider here says gloSample provider, but my provider on the line item is Sean Pham. And that's because maybe Sean Pham is a PA or a nurse practitioner or some sort of an extender that we have to bill out under a different billing provider. We have that ability, so it's just demonstrated to you like this so that you can see that. I also have referral providers, so that's the referring doctor that will go on my claim form. If for some reason I don't want the outside referring provider and I have to use my own provider, I can click on same as billing provider, and it puts in that my billing provider as my referring doctor, or ordering doctor is normally how that's mentioned. My prior authorization number, so if I click on that, we did grab a prior authorization earlier for this patient, so we can certainly grab that prior authorization and put it on today's charge. I also have the ability to have multiple fee schedules. Now, the majority of our practices all do physician billing, which is considered non-facility charges, compared to like ambulatory surgical centers or hospitals that might do facility charges as well. So we normally default to the non-facility charges, but I can have multiple fee schedules, and I only have a couple samples out here, but realize that I can build fee schedules that show me my allowed amounts by insurance company. These are all importable from their website. So really we go out to Medicare's website and pull in by locality your particular Medicare fee schedule, or Blue Cross or any other HMOs or PPOs that you belong to. All we really need is them to be in an Excel format, and then we can insert or import them into your database automatically for you. The next section is workers' comp or auto claim information. So if this is a workers' comp insurance, then obviously you would want to put in their onset date, and then their workers' comp numbers will show up here, as well as pull in their injury date information. And then of course hospitalization information, or if you're performing as an outside lab, but you collect part of that information, then you can store that there as well. On the left side is my insurance information. So I have my insurance party 1, 2, and 3. So this is showing me who my responsible party order. For some reason, if this is wrong, I can literally just change those numbers and it'll swap them to go from one party to the next if necessary. But I'm going to show you by data service down here. So if I say that I'm posting a 99213, you'll notice as I'm starting to type in those numbers, it's finding all of them until it gets narrowed down to the one that I want. I could hit enter or double click. I can also type in a number. So if I know my diagnosis codes, I can obviously just type them in. Or if I don't know, I could actually start typing in alphabetically information here. So it's getting to my hypertensions as quick as by spelling it out or by numerically putting it in. It's the same way in the CPT area as well as your modifiers too. So just to let you know how easy it is to get that information, I have buttons here to add a line. So if I wanted to go add my second line, I could do that. Or there's an F2 hotkeys down below, because most of the time billers don't use their mouse. They want their hands right on the account so that they can start putting in codes. Let me try this again. So as I start to put in my CPTs, it automatically pulls that information in. I have up to 4 diagnosis codes on the screen at the moment. That is going to be changing, and electronically we'll be able to send more, as well as following some other rules, but the general is 4 diagnosis codes because that's all that prints on the CMS form. And then this is actually drivers to say, maybe I just want to add my next diagnosis code here, but I only want the one diagnosis code to go on my claim form. Then I have the ability to control this, the information from these buttons here. I could also have pre-built charges into my system, or if I needed to, I could certainly type in my own charge and override that charge, realizing that my allowed amounts aren't out there if I don't have them pre-built into the system. But most of the time, our practices do pre-build that stuff in. This is where our modifiers are, so I could certainly type in different modifiers if I wanted to. You'll see that we have the full range of modifiers added out there for you, and of course that just started with the 2, but there's a bunch out there. So I have the ability to say, do I want allowed amounts to show up in my charge entry screen? Or do I want to put charges on hold by any means? If I do, I can put the reason why they might put it on hold right in here. Or I also have a place of service if that's something that is important to me to have a charge entry. And then the last one is our CLIA. So if you need CLIA by line item, then we can actually have a CLIA number box show up out here that will pull that information in from your location storage area where your CLIA numbers are stored. But I like to talk about them here just in case that's something that that you need that you didn't see. So again, this was the long manual way of putting in a charge. So I'm going to go ahead and hit close from here, I think. Trying to decide how I want to show you. I'm going to close and say no to save charges on that record. Then I'm going to go back in and show you the next way. So the next way, which still is not my preferred way, by the way, it is by doing smart treatments. I really, really like smart treatments, and in a lot of cases, if our doctors are not finishing their notes before our patient is done today, then smart treatment is another great way for our billing staff to get information documented in here quickly without having to put in every line item individually. So if I hit on smart treatment, what you can see is I can say, well, this patient's coming in for a Department of Transportation visit. And so I can pre-build different types of treatments that we do. And as soon as I hit select, it automatically posted all of the procedures that we do when we see a Department of Transportation patient and we do a complete physical for them. So it'll pull in all the information that they need, and then I can just save. So it's that easy to pre-build stuff that we do on a regular basis. So just to show you another example, instead of DOT, if I was doing a child and we did these series of immunizations, of course it didn't like that because I was already booked, so let me get out of here and do smart treatment. And this time, instead of DOT, we would pick immunizations, and then you would see just the immunizations that are done and the vaccines that go along with them. So you can actually connect different diagnoses to go with each vaccine individually, and it knows, and it'll stay out there forever. You could also create your modifiers to go right along with it if necessary too. So I just wanted you to see that via smart treatment, it's a very quick way to get bulk charges applied for something that you do routinely. Of course, we do it routinely, except for today we didn't do this particular patient. So I could just hit my F3 button to remove line, or up top my remove line. So whatever way I want. And then I can say, yes, we're not doing that one today. So even though it's normally what we do, but today we weren't able to do one injection, you can just remove that, just as simple as that. So that's another wonderful way to get charges done. So then the last way of doing charges is through EMR treatment. And I kept closing out of there on purpose so I didn't save immunizations on an adult patient for my demo purposes. But certainly if I would have hit save and close, I would have stayed right in that charge screen and would not have to be coming back in there. So my last way of showing charges is EMR treatment. EMR treatment is incredible. Comes straight from the doctors. So I actually had the doctor document Dr. Robert's account earlier today. So I'm going to double click on that. And what it did is it pulls in the office visit and the charges that the doctor has done on that patient right from EMR. So if I had charges out there on those particular codes, then they would have certainly showed up here. So it's that easy. I can say, oh, wait a minute, he did something, but I need to know, was it the right side or the left